Another thing too is that my steam trains were also quite smoky, and because they usually burned wood, a lot of my steam trains would burn wood or trees or just garbage. They even put garbage inside of the steam trains, and my engineers would be like, "Now don't be putting that garbage inside my by pressure vessel or whatever. You know what that does to the works." Because they would have to clean because I would pay pipemen to pipemen to flush the pipes, all the soot, because soot would build up inside the pipes. So like every month or every week, I would pay people to spend all day going with a wire brush or whatever. Actually, they use bristle brushes, and even some other stuff like cactus brushes or something like that, where they would shoosh the brass pipes basically. Anyway. It's like brass or copper. They use both. I think they use copper and then they use brass, depending. And then like this copper brass kind of stuff that was the pipes. Problem was that the two ends would come apart a little bit. So anyway, it gets all complicated. But basically, yeah, we had the water chamber. It worked good because one side was the exhaust. So anyway, one of the things is that they're really smoky, and a lot of times we were going down back into one of the great big mines. Like we'd have a great big huge mine, and we'd be needing to go down this long slope to where they would load the trains. So they would go down and they would shut off or stop the most of the flame on the steam train, and then they would take it down into the mine so it wouldn't be all smoky all over the place and like out all the workers. So they would take it down there, and we also had to do some stuff where we had to have like a long flue, and then it goes out, so it tends to take the smoke out of the mine, because otherwise you would have 3,000 people going, and even then it was like, yeah, and that's another reason why they would have those doors on the inside, is that they could try and close those, and then that would keep the carbon dioxide from going down from the steam train, because a steam train inside of a tunnel, very quickly you go air, there's no air, and you die. I'd always be like, and let me know if he dies. I was like, I die. So someone else would write in, and I die. It's like, oh God. No, and he dies. But let me know if he dies, and I die. It's like, yeah, they did a very good job. And he dies. It was written by his son, actually, or his brother or something like that. I was like, oh, make sure his family gets money and all that, because he stood up for the people. Anytime that the people were protected, I always did for the greater good. So like if someone stood up against an angry mob and like stopped them from raping people or whatever, or did something good, I'd always make sure he got a little bit of money, like 3 pennies or a bit or an iron piece. I handed out a lot, and give him an iron piece, which is basically a piece of iron, which is worth back then it was worth a lot, because you could take that to the Indians, and you could trade like 1 iron piece for 10 pelts or something like that, or Indians loved iron. They're like iron, and more iron, because they loved iron, because they would take the iron and they would sharpen it, and then they would go like I would give out iron discs or ovals, I think, like that, and they would take those iron discs, and then they would put like a little bone thing on it, and then they would sharpen it up, and then they would use that for cutting stuff, for cutting into wood, and even cutting down trees. Like they would take those little iron little things, because they fit in the hand, and they would sharpen them up and go, or they go, anyway, yeah. Watch out for an Indian. He might have an iron piece inside his hand. They used to say that. They used to say, and watch the hands. They could have an iron piece in their hands, which is basically they would take one of the round or oval, because I'd give them out round or oval. So they would take those little oval things and they would put like a piece of wood on it or a bone thing, and then they would sharpen it up, and then they'd go like this into so they at your throat, just get you right here, and then you'd bleed out basically, or they would make a point out of it and they go because usually what they would do is they would sharpen the bottom and then they'd sharpen the tip, so they could jab or they could go like this. Oh, watch out for it, and watch out for Chinese like that. The Chinese were really, they were like, be like, in 1 second they would go up and they'd get your heart right here, and then you'd be dead, and that's that. Just like a sprinkler. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff about what I used to do. I'd be like, and give them an iron piece and do this and do that. I mean, I'm doing like 50,000 people or 500,000 people. So, making rules for 500,000 people because my work parties are huge. I have towns, and so and they tend to fight. They did tend to fight. It'd take like 500,000 men just to build one steam train. By the time you've mined the metal and smelted the metal and gotten the wood for the smelting, you're looking at 500,000 people, or at least I think at least 15,000 was the smallest team I ever used or something like that. And later on there was a 3,000, but they were updated with steam equipment people where they actually built a steam train with only 3,000 people, which I was quite proud of. But they used a lot of steam equipment and steam shovels to actually do that, and steam hammers. So anyway, though, where was I going with this? Iron pieces. Oh yeah, I don't really remember. I don't know. It's just one of those things. Like I said, I also had a lot of titanium or Damascus steel augers. Like I said, I had the only Damascus steel in, I believe, the Middle East or somewhere. It's on one of those mountaintops right there. There's like this little mountain thing, and inside there, this one family had, I think it was one family, but it got taken over by the miners, and then I returned it, or returned some money, so the relative of the person that originally owned it, because I was like, hey, that's not the person who owned that. What happened to the person that owned that? And my people actually went through all the effort and actually found, I believe, a living relative of the person that owned the mine, and were like, well, this is your mine, and we're going to give you some money. Or gold. I forget exactly what it was. He had his choice, I think, like that. It was somewhere around like 1800s or more present day, because like the miners, the people had revolted, killed his parents or something like that, or killed. Anyway, but there was like two sides of the family or whatever. One, because families split off a lot. You'll have one family and then one child will go here, one child will go there. I mean, I would split up families like crazy, unfortunately. I didn't mean to, but like a lot of people, like some people would go with the left party, some people would go with the right party, or they would go together. I mean, there's a lot of that. I mean, if you look in my records, you'd see a lot of that. And then usually they would come back together, or they'd find out, oh, well, no, he died in an avalanche, or he died in a rock slide with like 5,000 other people. It's like, make sure their family gets money. Like, I was always giving out metal or money, because it's like, one of my people just got like 5,000 of, or half your family dead. So, like, I didn't just want to be like, oh, well, that sucks. Too bad for you. I was like, no. Ain't right. Make sure they get money or food. And so they would get money or food, because I wasn't going to be like that. So, anyway, because like, I mean, half a family would get taken out in one mistake. Like, one of my engineers would make a mistake, and then, well, the side of the mountain came down, and they were underneath it. So 15,000 or 5,000 people die. And I'd be like, what do you mean? You mean their whole family is dead practically, except for one child. Or two people. I'd have a lot of other heartbreaking stories. So, getting the money,